Hello, welcome to Your Insight. That is the Individual and Social Influences of Technology Lab at the University of Ottawa in Canada. I'm Leah, thesis student at the Insight Lab, and today we're going to talk about sexual violence towards women with disabilities. Disability is the result of the interaction between a person's functional limitations and barriers in the environment, including social and physical barriers that make it harder to function day to day. It can be physical, mental, cognitive, or developmental. The World Health Organization considers that sexual violence is a public health issue, but research on sexual violence towards women with disabilities is rare and incomplete. Here's what we know. The majority of the perpetrators of sexual violence towards women with disabilities are current or former intimate partners. Intimate partner violence, what I will call IPV for the rest of the video, is more pervasive in women with disabilities than in women without disabilities. And women with disabilities are more likely to suffer severe IPV. Additionally, women who experience intimate sexual violence are 3 times more likely to report disabilities than women who did not experience said violence. 40 to 72% of women with physical disabilities have been abused by an intimate partner, a family member, a caregiver, a healthcare provider, or other service provider. The little research we have on women with disabilities tells us that several factors put these people at increased risk for violence. Low self-esteem, mental health problems, and maintaining personal health. The range and array of stigma experienced by women with disabilities often renders such individuals socially invisible, undervalued, asexual, undesirable, naive, and dependent. Exclusion from education and employment, poverty, the need for personal assistance with daily living, very high level of parental violence, and sexual abuse in childhood. Discrimination, neglect, and violence make it difficult for women with disabilities to set boundaries. Overprotection and containment of women with disabilities as eternal children, also known as infantilization. For example, not allowing outings, not allowing any autonomy, like cooking or personal hygiene, limiting social activities, excluding the person from important life decisions. Also, because they are perceived as unattractive and sexually inadequate, also known as desexualization, there are more chances that they stay in abusive relationships, they are perceived as less of a person by perpetrators, and they don't receive proper sex education. Intimate partners can be violent in other ways. Given the greater dependence of women with disabilities on their partner carers, the use of women's impairments as part of the abuse adds complexity to the abuse experiences of these women. Impairment-specific abuse was commonly reported by interviewees and included being denied access to wheelchairs and other mobility aids, being left stranded for hours or days, or being stopped from accessing needed facilities. There was also emotional degradation associated with the impairment, like verbal abuse and emotional abuse by name-calling and degrading them. There's deliberate neglect, like being denied access to vital medicines that are withheld or put out of reach, or being deliberately deprived of sanitary protection, soap, or other personal washing items were examples noted. Financial abuse and control were also very common. The abuse was dressed up as caring and used to exert greater power and control, a situation that made it difficult for women to name abuse and to do anything about it, and one where agencies were sometimes collusive. The representation of abusive partner carers as caring heroes, combined with the dominant construction of women with disabilities as asexual, has resulted in a number of women believing and being made feel that they are undeserving of a relationship and should be grateful for the one that they're in, even though it's an abusive one. Feeling unworthy often made women feel ashamed to disclose to their family and friends, as well as there being a pressure for them to tolerate the abuse because, and open the quotation marks, who else will look after you? Women with disabilities also encounter barriers to seek help. Services are not accessible, low self-esteem and feeling like they don't deserve help, dependence on the abuser, fear of increased violence, a negative experience with a police officer, social worker, healthcare provider that resulted in a loss of trust in all authority figures and a belief that nothing would change as a result of disclosure, and a myriad of interpersonal, sociocultural factors such as self-doubt and denial, discounting, minimizing, and victim blaming by the perpetrator, and societal attitudes that normalize or conversely stigmatize IPV. The intersectionality between gender and disability put women with disabilities at an increased risk for sexual violence, and barriers for them to seek important services still exist. I hope this was insightful. Don't hesitate to share, like, and interact with us in the comments. Bye.